We do many book reviews, especially inside of Beyond 90. And one of my first mentors was a gentleman by the name of Tai Lopez, who taught me how to read a book a day. And I must say that reading a book a day and being able to speed read and digest content at a rapid rate has really propelled me forward in my growth, in my personal development, and in terms of being able to digest vast amounts of knowledge and then put that to practical use. So you're about to watch part one of a three-part series with my first significant mentor, Tai Lopez. And I asked Tai to come and join us at our 2024 annual AFL Live retreat, where he joined us on a virtual Zoom call and spoke to about 30 of our Project 90, Beyond 90, and leadership clients, where he really talked to us about the art of speed reading, digesting a book, rewiring our mindset around knowledge, and it was incredibly well received. So in this first part, Tai is going to talk about the benefit of reading. In part two, which will be upcoming, he's going to give you some practical tips on how to digest vast amounts of knowledge very quickly. And then in part three, he's going to talk about the concept of buying happiness, investing in coaching, investing in ongoing self-development and growth. For now, though, enjoy this part one of three with Tai Lopez.
This is a good book by a Nobel Prize winning economist named Richard Thaler. When I read that book, I'm downloading the consciousness of this entire human's life, 40, 50 years of experience in economics and business. I'm just downloading it into my brain. I don't have to live 40, 50 years. I don't have to make the mistakes that that person made. So the mind is what I'd like you to take away. Are you investing enough in your mind? We want to invest in marketing. We want to invest in Facebook ads. We want to invest in better websites. We want to invest in better accounting. We want to invest in, a better car, better wardrobe, better haircut. But all of those things, as far as I can tell, none of those actually get you the dream. You could have a horrible haircut your whole life and get health, wealth, love, happiness. You could have I know I'm in business with a couple of billionaires that are on the Forbes list. Some of them dry. I remember Mark Cuban, the first time he came to my house, the billionaire from Shark Tank. He landed at the airport and he came over by himself. He didn't have a bodyguard or entourage. And he just had a Lexus or something he had rented. Or maybe it was a Honda Accord, just a regular car he pulled up. It has no correlation for him whether he has I like Lamborghinis, not necessarily to show off. I just think they're cool cars, but it's uncorrelated to my success. And every person in this room, you're going to have to make decisions today and tomorrow. What do I do with my limited time? Everybody's running out of time. Of course, that's an illusion, but let's just say in our finite minds, we feel like we run out of time every day. So what are you going to do? You got to make decisions. In fact, this book is all about decision making, and it talks about how our brain misbehaves. So the average person now is spending between 20 minutes and 8 hours scrolling through social media. The average person, all of us, we're seeing 10,000 ads a day. These things are hijacking our brains. You go to the grocery store, we're seeing processed food. We're kept awake at night because the blue light from light is hijacking our brains. And so you're going to have to make a lot of decisions. And it's easy to let your brain misbehave and you miss health, wealth, love, and happiness. And so the one antidote, the cure, the antibiotic, the treatment is becoming a learning machine and taking that up. Some of you are already a learning machine, but take it up another notch. Some of you are reading a book a month. That's probably not enough. The average CEO is reading one book a week, 52 books a year. And be careful of the reality you set. You might say, Tai, I don't know, I can't read a book a week. That's just your expectation. That's not true. You're just I do believe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're rendering a reality where you can only read a book a month. It's not true. In fact, Elon Musk, I was reading his article by his sister, came out this year. And she said, yeah, my brother used to read 2 books a day as a teenager. So once again, a lot of people say it can't be done, that there's not enough time in a day to learn more, but there is. And people do it all the time. And, I try to read a book a day. And I remember when I put out a video, I did a TEDx talk in 2014. It went super viral because it was controversial. It's why I read a book a day. And people were mad and they're like, there's no way you read a book a day. And I just realized, man, I was a slacker recently. When I found out that Elon Musk, reads 2 books a day. I was like, man, I'm a slacker. See how your reality can change? I remember when I was making about $300,000 a year with a business. And I remember saying to myself very vividly, I remember where I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I was like, I wonder if I can make $1 million a year. I was like, one day I'll figure out how to make $1 million a year. And it was such a big deal. I wish I could go back to myself at 18 years old and say, I was probably, sorry, not 18. I was probably 23, 24. I wish I could say, you're rendering a reality where it's a big deal. It doesn't have to be a big deal, because at those same years, Mark Zuckerberg was building Facebook and becoming a billionaire. Same reality as I was in. So the reason you want to double down, learn more, read more, listen more, find more mentors, double down on knowledge is because it actually allows you to skip into another universe. I know that sounds very weird, but read the modern science. It's not the 1980s anymore. Not the 1990s, not the 1970s. Quantum physics is weird now. It sounds very religious now. Okay. Local realism isn't real. When you look at your house and then you look away, it stops being there. Now, you might disagree with the Nobel Prize winners, but they know a thing or two about what they're talking about. Now, this is at a quantum level. So maybe at our visual level, when we look away, the house is still there. But you could change your reality. And the simplest time travel machine is the more you learn, the more you earn. And so when I meet people consistently, I notice a pattern. More successful people have a different attitude about life. They have, I wouldn't say an optimistic one, because you can be overly optimistic, but I would say they begin to feel the emotion of their success before they have it. And so, some people say you need to law of attraction, you say it to get it. Some people say you need to write it down, but maybe that's all true. But I know in my life, you have to feel it before you have it. Feelings for humans may be the only thing that's real. And I'm a pretty logical guy, so that goes against my worldview. But what you feel, Nelson Mandela went to prison for 30 years, or I think it was 28 years. And he came out kind of a normal person, not bitter at the world. He won a Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. Some people get put in prison for 28 years. They kill themselves on the first day. Same quote unquote reality, different feelings. He felt like, well, I'm going to come through this and I'm going to change the world when I come out of it. And so wherever you are right now in your business journey, your entrepreneur journey, some of you are making $1,000 a month. Some of you are making $1 million. Feelings are very real. And so you have to take control of your feelings, and you can't be like the wind where you wake up in a bad mood. You have to rein it in. Just like you have to control your appetite and not eat junk food all the time. You got to bring your emotions, and you have to begin to experience things not optimistically and not pessimistically, but you begin to feel what it'll be like before it's there. And you might think that that's, pseudoscience or something. No, this is, like I said, I've been mentored by one of my mentors, Tillman Fertitta. He's he's the wealthiest man in Texas. He's worth $7 billion. He owns 600 restaurants. He owns the Houston Rockets basketball team. When I'm around him, I notice a pattern. And he told me his story of success. He said there was a lot of luck in him becoming a billionaire. He doesn't attribute it all to I worked hard, and therefore I worked harder than everybody I knew. I was smarter than everybody I knew, and therefore I became a billionaire. No, he tells me the story. He owed money to a bank and he had to pay it and he didn't have the money and he would have been bankrupt, but the bank went bankrupt before they could call him and ask for the millions of dollars he owed him. And it took the bank 5 years because the government took it over. It took the bank 5 years to realize he owed them money. The FDIC took over the bank. And so he looks at it as fortune and fate. Okay. You could call it luck if you wanted to, but he doesn't say luck. What he says, he believes there was something bigger than him that allowed him. And that's that alternate reality, because according to modern science, there's a parallel universe where Tillman Fertitta went bankrupt. And it doesn't have 7 billion. There's another universe out there. So, but he always felt he was destined for something. And that feeling carried him through the toughest of all times. For humans, probably only feelings are real. And that's a reason I bring this up. James asked me, hey, Tai, you know, what's your worldview? And I wanted to share that. Now, that doesn't mean that most people's feelings are real. There are people who you can have a false feeling. I'll give you an example. When I first moved to Beverly Hills, a next door neighbor, their kid was like 17 years old. And I was jogging one time and his kid stopped me and he was like, and he followed me on social media. And I said, how you doing? He said, oh, I'm not doing good. I said, why? He said, my life sucks right now. I said, why? He said, I'm in high school. All my friends are getting Ferraris and all I have is this BMW. And kids are making fun of me that I'm the poor kid. And I remember, so that's I can't deny he had the feeling of pain, struggle, but that was a false feeling. It's not true. He was driving a nice Mercedes, you know. When I say feelings are real, you must have control of the feelings. With the logical mind has to work with the emotional mind. And so when it comes to making money, I can give you a lot of practical advice. I can break down the video sales letter that I did there, that 3-minute ad that generated, it actually did way more than 70 million views because I had 3 versions of it. It did about 300 million views. About 5% of the world watched that video campaign. I can break down the psychology, but that worked for me. You're going to have to find your own path. So the compass that you need in your hand is every day you wake up, you begin to feel the true feelings, not the ones that are swayed by society, not the one that says, you know, your life sucks if you have a BMW, and you begin to feel the good life before you have it. And but that feeling leads into action. And that's where I see people going wrong with power of positive thinking. You cannot, and that Fabric of Reality book talks about it. He says there's 4 fabrics of reality. One of them is time and epistemology and quantum computing, but one of them is science and evolution. So you cannot wake up and not go to the gym and eat junk food and just say, I feel my body being at peak health. Because there's fabrics of reality. That's the cool thing. I'd never heard somebody say it like that. Meaning there's alternating, that's why there's religion and science that both have some truth. Because the universe is it's like your bed. When you go to your bed, you have your bed sheet, your sheets, your blanket, your comforter, right? You have 4 layers. They all make up the bed. And so your life as an entrepreneur is made up of your emotions, but it's also made up of science, right? So if you want to make more money, you have to study the science of money, and you have to layer that on top of the mind and the feelings. So these all layer on top of each other and they create the life that you want. And so I've seen people on both extremes. For example, I've seen people who are very scientific. They know how to do business. They know how to make money. They make their first million and they never can get past their first million. It's because they don't have the mindset. They're pessimistic. They don't ever experience, they conjure up negative things. But I've also seen, and so they don't win. They win a little bit, but they don't go that far. Then I've seen other people who are the opposite. They're just focused on mindset and they never do anything. They never learn anything. That's why I said, if you remember one thing from this long talk I'm giving, it's that the simple thing to to bet on that is the merger of spiritual mindset and logic and science is knowledge. Knowledge is kind of spiritual. What is a thing that raise your hand? I can see you all. Raise your hand if you lean more towards the spiritual side of approach to life. You believe there's heaven or hell or God, or you lean more that way. Raise your hand now if you are a little more on the atheist science side. Raise your hand if you're more that way. Okay. See, the answer is you're both right at the same time. That's the weird thing. Humans don't like that. We want to know who's right, Republicans or Democrats. Who's always right? Well, the truth is some things Republicans are better on, some things Democrats are better on. Most likely. It's two layers of the truth. Democrats, when they get out of their strength, they start ruining the world. When Republicans get out of their strength, they start ruining the world. It's the same with those of you who are too scientific. I'll tell you some of the poorest people I know are my most scientific friends. They definitely don't make a lot of money. I just don't find it to be true. By the way, people don't realize the richest man in modern times is not Putin. It's not Elon Musk. It's not Jeff Bezos. It's Bill Gates. Now, my mom hates Bill Gates. She says he's the Antichrist, but forget that for a second. Okay. My mom really, you cannot bring up Bill Gates around my mom. It becomes a long conversation. But young Bill Gates, my mom, I think, believes at some point he sold his soul. But the young Bill Gates, before he sold his soul in my mom's version, I saw him give a talk. He said, I often imagine the whole world exists just for me and my success. And if so, it's going pretty well. That was when he was 22, 23. He started to imagine it. He said, I imagined that. And he was the 20-time richest man in the world. And by the way, he gave most of his shares to his charity. So his current net worth is about $150 billion. But he used to own, and he charitably gave away his 56% in Microsoft. If he hadn't given those shares to his charity, Microsoft's worth 2.7 trillion. He's worth 1.3 trillion. And even that man, who was a very scientific person, he used to use mind tricks on himself by saying, I would imagine that this whole world is my parallel universe. He said that. So trust me, for those of you who think you're scientific and high IQ, you ain't higher IQ than Bill Gates. He is a very intelligent guy. Doesn't mean, like my mom would say, maybe that's a bad thing. But my point is, for those of you, I do not see my most scientific friends and my most logical friends winning in life necessarily more than my more spiritual friends. But I also don't see my hyper spiritual friends winning either. I see the people winning are this weird hybrid of kind of like old school religion in their mind, right? And new science. So let's talk for a second. I don't know if you can see my board. Can anyone see this board here?
We can see your board. Yes, we can see your board. Yep.
So so the way I call this the dichotomies. Here's you today. Okay. Assuming you want to progress. That's, I'm sure, why you're at James' seminar here. You got two pathways. Okay. And I want you to go down the middle, which is where these two pathways merge. This is the way, not this way. No, yes, right here. That's the winner. By the way, again, for those of you who are more on the scientific side, Elon Musk recently did an interview. He's currently listed as the richest man in the world. He says when he was 12 years old, he was very depressed. And what changed his life? Anybody know what it was? What did I say is the simple thing to take away from my talks?
Knowledge.
What is this?
Knowledge.
It's a book. It's knowledge in a book. He read a book. Anybody know what that book was? It's called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And his takeaway was, there's something bigger than this earth. And that gave him hope. Doesn't that sound kind of spiritual? He was like, wait, we humans and this earth isn't everything. There's a vast unknown universe out there. And that's why he built SpaceX and built the company. So once again, Bill Gates, wealthiest man in the world by one measure. Elon Musk, when you listen to them, it's as if they're right here. They're talking about big concepts. They're talking about altering the reality and the feelings they have in their own mind. I'm Elon Musk. I'm depressed. I don't want to live. I'm 20, or I don't want to go forward. I read a book. A book allows me to download a new consciousness into my brain. What's the new consciousness? That there's something bigger than you. What does that sound like? Religion. So really, a version of spirituality and religion is what Elon credits his success. But he's also very scientific. He's an engineer. Okay. So for those of you who raised your hand and you are a little more spiritual, you need to develop this other part of your body, which is a little more logical. You need to read the logical books. Okay. You need a little more hardcore business books. You need a little more economics. For those of you who tend to be a little more logical, you need to read The Fabric of Reality by David Deutsch, or you need to read Stephen Hawking's book, Brief History of Time, mind-bending things that make you be like, whoa, I thought I was scientific, but I wasn't. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, our grandchildren will look back at what we think is scientific and think we were prehistoric, just like we look back at 100 years ago and we think, man, they used to put leeches on you at a hospital. That's what they used to do. Oh, you're not feeling good? I got the answer. I'll put some leeches on your neck. We look back and we're like, whoa, not the best science, right? Well, we're going to look back, trust me, in 100 years with quantum computing, with AI, we're going to be like, wait a sec. And I think what they're going to find is these people win. The spiritual scientist wins. The spiritual scientist wins. That is clearly what Elon Musk is. In fact, if you watch him recently on Twitter, he's been posting a lot around Jesus Christ quotes. He posted about love is what the world needs. He posted Bible verses. Okay, that's pretty interesting from a guy that most people perceive to be very much an atheist. So the worlds are merging, and that is how you will make more money. And I know that sounds so counterintuitive, but I've seen my logical friends try to make money. I was just on the phone with my friend who's a PhD in molecular neuroscience. He's been on the cover of like Neuron Nature magazine. He is the one who discovered the gene for paralysis, the first human ever to discover there's a gene for paralysis. He's always makes mistakes and never makes any money. He's always bumbling it up. And I got friends that believe in whatever, that do meditation, believe in Buddha, and do ayahuasca, make twice the money. It drives him crazy. In fact, a funny story. He told me, he's like, Tai, I spent 14 years getting my PhD, and he's from Argentina. And he goes, my friend, who still lives in Argentina, started a janitor service. Okay, this is a true story. Janitor service. So he was a janitor, and then he now has like 20 janitors working for him. But in 2013, he told my friend, there's a crazy new thing out here. You should buy Bitcoin for $100. Okay. My friend, the scientist, the logical guy, is like, I've done the scientific analysis. Bitcoin is a scam. It won't work. So my friend bought 0 Bitcoin, PhD. The janitor in Argentina, I think, did 1,000 or 2,000. Last I checked, last he told me, his janitor friend has $37 million in his bank account. So much for the smartest scientist winning, because the more spiritual person was like, oh, I feel like I deserve to be successful, and this is the universe giving me an opportunity. Let me buy this Bitcoin. And he was all optimistic, and and my friend was this hardcore, like, no, I've done the quantitative math. One guy's 37 million. It drives my friend crazy to this day. And so that's why I say the merging of the unknown with the known. But the one thing that keeps it in common is you're always reading. Now, practical things. I like to use this book, or this iBooks on my phone right here. Okay. And I like to do audiobooks. You can see here's a ebook. That's the Fabric of Reality, actually, book I was talking about. You can see an audiobook there.